She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "We're over." No hesitation, no regret, just cold certainty. So I packed my bags and left. 2 weeks later, I was living with her cousin, and now she's calling me every single day. And no, I'm not picking up. It wasn't a fight. There wasn't yelling or throwing things or tears. That's what makes it worse. It was a Tuesday morning, and Tuesdays are supposed to be forgettable. We were sitting in the kitchen. She was sipping her coffee, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. Without looking up, she said, "We're over." I froze. What? Finally, she looked at me. No softness in her eyes, no hesitation in her voice. "I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working. You should move out." That was it. No reason, no explanation, just a verdict, handed down like she was a judge and I was guilty of something I didn't even know I'd done. And the way she said it, calm, almost bored, told me she'd already moved on in her head long before this moment. I could have argued, I could have begged, but for what? To convince someone to keep me around when they'd already decided I wasn't worth it? No thanks. I went to the bedroom, grabbed a suitcase, and started packing. My hands moved automatically, but my mind was somewhere else, trying to figure out what came next. I didn't have a new place lined up. My friends had small apartments. My parents lived 2 hours away. And that's when I thought of her cousin, Jenna. Jenna and I weren't close, but we'd met at family gatherings. She always struck me as kind, the type of person who actually listens when you talk, who makes you feel comfortable without even trying. I didn't expect much when I called her. "Hey, I know this is out of the blue, but I need a place to crash for a while." Her answer came instantly. "Come over. You can stay as long as you need." When I arrived at her place later that evening, dragging my suitcase behind me, she opened the door with a warm smile. "You're welcome here," she said. Then, almost under her breath, she added, "She's crazy for letting you go." Settling in. At first, I treated it like a temporary arrangement, a couch to sleep on until I figured things out. But Jenna insisted I take the guest room. We fell into an easy rhythm. She made coffee in the mornings and left a cup for me on the counter. I cooked dinner a few nights a week. We'd talk in the evenings. Nothing heavy at first, just little things about work, movies, music. But slowly, the walls came down. One night, we stayed up until nearly 2 a.m., sitting on the couch with a bottle of wine between us. We talked about our childhoods, our past relationships, our regrets. At one point, she looked me in the eye and said, "You deserve better than how she treated you." It was a simple statement, but it landed like a punch, because deep down, I knew she was right. About a week after I moved in, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen, my ex. I stared at it, debating whether to answer. Eventually, I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, a text came in. "We need to talk." I ignored it. The next day, she called again. This time, I picked up. "What do you want?" I asked. "I heard you're staying with Jenna." "Yeah, so?" Her tone sharpened. "I don't think that's a good idea." I laughed. "Why do you care? You ended things." There was a long pause. Then she muttered, "I just don't think it's appropriate," before hanging up. From that moment on, the calls started coming regularly. Some were angry, "You're making a mistake." Others were weirdly nostalgic. "Remember when we went to the coast last summer?" It was clear she wasn't interested in getting back together out of love. It was about control. She didn't like the idea of me moving on, especially not with someone in her own family. Meanwhile, my connection with Jenna kept growing. She was funny, supportive, and made me feel seen in a way my ex never had. 2 weeks in, Jenna and I went out for dinner. It wasn't a date, at least not officially, but there was an energy between us that hadn't been there before. Or maybe I just hadn't noticed it until now. When we got home, we stayed up talking in the kitchen, leaning against the counter. She looked at me and said, "I like having you here. I hope you stay a while." The way she said it, I knew she didn't just mean as a roommate. The confrontation. 3 days later, my ex showed up at Jenna's door. Jenna and I were watching a movie when there was a sharp knock. I opened the door and there she was, arms crossed, eyes blazing. "Can we talk?" she demanded. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "About what?" "This thing with Jenna. It's wrong." I couldn't help but laugh. "You broke up with me. You told me to move out. You don't get to dictate where I live or who I'm with." Her jaw tightened. "She's my family." "And you thought throwing me away wouldn't have consequences?" I asked. For a moment, she didn't say anything. I think that was the first time she realized she'd lost the upper hand. She left that night without another word, but the calls didn't stop. Every day, my phone would light up with her name. I stopped answering altogether. Jenna told me I didn't owe her an explanation. Not anymore. And she was right. My life wasn't hers to control. In time, things between Jenna and me became more than just two people sharing a space. We weren't rushing into anything, but there was a closeness, a trust that felt solid. If you'd told me a month ago that I'd be living with my ex's cousin, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am, happier than I've been in years, with someone who actually values me. And my ex? She's the one calling me every day, wondering how I could move on so easily. The truth is, it wasn't easy, but it was necessary. She said we were over. I believed her. Now I'm with someone who makes me feel alive, and she's the one who can't let go.